Elizabeth Warren is, of course, on the campaign trail, and she's kind of pivoted when it comes to her messaging on Medicare for All. In fact, she's been emphasizing the importance of choice during her campaigning, but there's some nuance there. So Warren has been using new notable language at her town halls to describe the transition into Medicare for All, saying under her plan, it would be a voter's choice to opt in. So important context here, she rolled out her transition plan for Medicare for All. And based on what she's proposing, it would happen in 2 different periods. First, she would push for a public option so people can get a taste of government-run healthcare. And then she says in her 3rd year of her first term, she would pressure Congress to pass full Medicare for All. Now, I don't agree with that plan. I think that that's actually a huge sign that she's moving away from Medicare for All overall. There's some disagreement about it, but I'm gonna stand firm in how I feel. And according to the New York Times, CNN, for the last 2 weeks, Warren has described the transition into her Medicare for All plan as choice for Americans to try it. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a specific example of her using this messaging, and it was in response to a concern by a voter. During a stop in Iowa, 54-year-old Camille Anderson told Warren she was a fan of her Medicare for All plan, quote, "But I keep hearing from people who are afraid, A, of the cost, and B, that they're not going to be able to get the care they need or see the doctor they want with your plan. Is there something you can say to alleviate their concerns and their fears?" And so Warren responded with this quote, "Let's let people try it, find out what it feels like to be making healthcare decisions just between you and your medical professional, and get the prescription drugs you need without having to worry about how big the copay is going to be and whether or not you're going to be able to get the prescription filled and still have enough money left over to buy groceries this week." So that was her messaging. Cenk, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I do. You know how much I like Elizabeth Warren, but this is really disappointing because it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know what her advisors are telling her. So my guess is they're telling her the polling, because the entirety of the Republican Party, millions of dollars in insurance company ads in Iowa and New Hampshire and across the country, and 90% of the Democratic Party has been battering Medicare for All. It's now getting close to 50-50. It was wildly popular. It was at 70% when it first came out. It's still very popular among Democratic voters, but now it's getting battered by all the propaganda from the corporate Democrats on top of everyone else. So they must have seen those numbers and be like, oh no, we gotta start talking about choice because people love the idea of choice, right? But wait a minute, you either have Medicare for All or you don't. What do I mean by that? Medicare for All doesn't have copays, deductibles, and premiums. If you have a public option or you can opt in, you still have to pay.
Yes.
If you have to pay, you haven't changed the system at all. And there is no choice. You can't choose to not pay. So saying it's a choice is just factually incorrect. Here, I'll quote part of the CNN article here. In trying to explain what the hell is going on here, they say the option would be open to many Americans who want to use it, but they would have to pay for it. But that's not an option of having Medicare for All. That's just not what it is.
Right.
Medicare for All is everybody's in the same system. There are no payments. And for God's sake, be clear about this. And this has been a giant, massive lie, not just by the insurance companies and all those corporate corrupt Democrats and Republicans, but by the mainstream media. They keep saying they're gonna take your insurance away, your private insurance away. But they never finish the second half of the sentence. They're gonna replace it with better insurance,
exactly,
with expanded coverage,
where you actually have more choice. And this is my problem with how Warren answered the question from the voter, aside from the fact that I don't think that she's actually fighting for Medicare for All, is that let's say if we gave her the benefit of the doubt and claim that she is fighting for Medicare for All, the messaging there is disastrous because you don't have more choice under a privatized healthcare system. I mean, we've talked about this over and over again, and Wendell Potter, who's been doing these excellent threads on Twitter. He used to be a healthcare industry executive. He was an executive with Cigna. He talks about the myth of choice, and I think that he summarizes this perfectly, and this is what Warren could have done, right? When I worked for the insurance industry, we were instructed to talk about choice-based on focus groups and people like Frank Luntz, who wrote the book on how the GOP should communicate with Americans. I used it all the time as an industry flack, but there was a problem. As a health insurance PR guy, we knew one of the huge vulnerabilities of the current system was lack of choice. In the current system, you can't pick your own doctor, specialist, or hospital without huge out-of-network bills. So we set out to muddy the issue of choice, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Not just by Republicans who oppose Medicare for All, but by corporate Democrats who also oppose Medicare for All because their corporate donors don't want Medicare for All. That's what's going on here. So rather than fight back aggressively, which Bernie Sanders has done a great job in, you see people like Warren cave, and there's really no need to cave. And so CNN is arguing that her support of Medicare for All is what's causing her to slip in the polls. But I disagree. She started slipping in the polls as soon as she started moving away from progressive policy proposals.
100%. There's obviously an internal battle within the Warren campaign. I'm just saying from the outside, of the moderates versus the progressives, and the progressives in the campaign are losing. The moderates must be telling her, oh, no, when you said you were for Medicare for All and proposed that plan, it was too progressive, that's why you're slipping. It's not remotely true, she's losing all of her progressive support. That's why, because she's backing away from Medicare for All. You can't back away this late. And even if you wanted to, even if you policy-wise didn't believe in it, and that would be terrible. I think that policy is more important. But as a matter of politics, it is way too late in the game to back away from something that you have been saying from day one in this campaign. What do you think, you're gonna out Buttigieg?
Exactly.
It's a terrible political strategy. Do not listen to the moderates in your campaign. They're ruining your campaign. Look, I endorse Bernie Sanders, so I want him to win. But it's like sad to see this unfolding in the Warren campaign. I want to go back to Wendell Potter because the guy's an American hero.
Yes.
He's like, look, I know how we lied to you. I'm the guy who did it, okay? I saw the focus groups. The number one problem in private insurance is that we take all your choice away. We say, no, you gotta be an in-network provider. You can't go to an out-of-network provider. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. Why? Because we want to maximize profit. And we want to make sure you don't get care, because that takes away our money, right? So since that was our number one problem, we did a full frontal assault in the opposite direction and said, oh my God, don't let the government take away your choice, the wonderful choice you have with private insurance, even though we knew you didn't have any choice. And so they would do these front groups, the industry would, called My Care, My Choice. Another one was Choice and Competition Coalition. You see, they're paid to lie to you
100%.
So they can maximize profit.
I mean, come on, we already, what I don't get is how these types of PR campaigns against Medicare for All or a government-run healthcare system, how it actually works, how it's successful. Because we all know what it's like to live under a privatized healthcare system where we don't have choice. I mean, look, let's say you have the means to buy really good insurance outside of your employer. But even in that case, if you go out of network, you're screwed. And if you're getting insured through your employer, you don't have choice there. Your choice is basically dwindled down to whatever your employer is offering you.
There's a new poll out that shows that Americans think that if you do Medicare for All and you take away private insurance, that it's going to take away their ability to choose not whether they go to Aetna, Big Blue,
Blue Cross Blue
Shield, sorry, but that it's going to take their choice away to go to the doctor they want or the provider or the hospital they want. The exact opposite is true. So the reality is, if you have Medicare for All, there is no in-network or out-of-network. You can go to any doctor, any hospital. I know it seems unbelievable for an American, but every other developed country has this system where you can do that. They're lying to you. Look, guys, we got to do a coordinated campaign because I honestly don't think even Bernie Sanders is doing a good job of explaining this well enough. So the media is complicit here. They are lying over and over again. If you remember when I went on Cuomo's show and we were talking about Medicare for All, and I said, you would have better insurance under Medicare for All, he seemed genuinely surprised, like, right? They never talk about it. You have better insurance. Stop lying. Stop the lies. Stop the lies. All the mainstream media makes it seem like you won't have any insurance. It's an unbelievable lie meant to protect the insurance companies, which coincidentally, wild coincidence, happen to spend billions of dollars in advertising on all of the major media outlets.
It's almost as
also the drug companies, also a huge beneficiary of the private insurance system and this corrupt system, happen to spend billions on major media organizations. And then what a wild coincidence, every major media organization pretends that you wouldn't have insurance if you had Medicare for All instead of giving. And by the way, this is not disputable. I asked one of the top opponents of Medicare for All, Senator Michael Bennet. I said, if you, and it's on tape, anybody can see it, and you could ask any expert, if you take away private insurance, you would still have insurance under Medicare for All. And he said, yes. In fact, it would be, quote, awesome. His complaint is he thinks you can't pay for it. That's wrong. But he admitted it would be awesome insurance, and it would be, quote, the Cadillac plan. Stop the lies. Tell people what Medicare for All actually is.
It's almost as if their negative coverage on Medicare for All is intentional and malicious.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.